We will now call this meeting to order, finally. Good afternoon, and welcome to the first meeting of the Assembly Committee on Natural Resources. Will the committee secretary please call the roll? And I am present. If you would please mark Assemblymember DeLong present when he returns, and please mark Assemblymember Kasama absent excused. I want to welcome everyone to this meeting, those here in Carson City, as well as those joining us by video in Las Vegas or Elko, or listening online. I'd like to do just a little bit of housekeeping, if we could, before we get started. First, everyone, please silence your electronic devices. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents, so please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during this meeting, even if we may not agree with another person's position. If you are presenting or testifying, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to the committee assistant. When testifying, please turn on the microphone, clearly state and spell your name and the organization or agency you represent, if any, for the record. Please turn off the microphone each time you are done speaking. I would like to note that all exhibits and meeting materials must be submitted electronically to our committee manager by no later than 12 p.m. on the business day before the meeting, and 15 hard copies brought to the meeting for members of the public. Similarly, proposed amendments to a bill being heard by the committee must be submitted electronically no later than 12 p.m. on the business day prior to the meeting. So please include the bill number, a statement of intent, and your name and contact information. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes, and additionally, members of the public may submit written testimony to the committee up to 24 hours after a hearing. And finally, although this does not really apply for today's meeting, for any future meetings, it is worth noting that agenda items may be taken in a different order, and actually today is going to happen too. So 2 or more agenda items may be combined for consideration, and an item may be removed from an agenda, or discussion of an item on this agenda may be delayed at any time. So on our agenda for today, we have committee introductions, the adoption of committee policies, and 2 presentations. Usually, I had anticipated starting off with member introductions. However, due to the fact that we have a 5 p.m. meeting tonight for the governor's revised budget, I'm actually going to flip that and do that after the 2 presentations, if that is appropriate, or if everybody's okay with that, based upon the fact that there's only 2 of us that serve on that evening committee, and this way one individual will be able to leave right away. So moving to our first order of business, we have the adoption of committee policies. Members, those have been provided to you and are also available on Nellis. These policies are fairly standard and similar to those in our other committees and serve to complement the Assembly standing rules and joint standing rules. With that, I will open up for any questions regarding these committee policies. Any questions? All right. If not, I will take a motion to adopt the committee policies for the Assembly Committee on Natural Resources.
So moved.
We have a motion from Vice Chair LaRue Hatch and a second from Assemblymember DeLong. Is there any discussion on the motion to adopt the committee policies? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the committee policies signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion is carried and carried unanimously. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our committee policy analysis, Becky Perrett, to present the committee policy brief. Committee members and members of the public can find this document on Nellis. Ms. Perrett, if you would please go ahead whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Chair. Again, my name is Becky Peratt. I'm the Committee Policy Analyst, Legislative Council Bureau Research Division. As a reminder, as nonpartisan legislative staff, I cannot advocate for or oppose any of the measures that will come before this committee. Turning to the committee policy brief, this is a document that provides an introduction to the committee, its work in previous sessions, and expectations for this session. Pages 1 and 2 provide information on the bill drafts requested by the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Natural Resources, as well as measures that have been pre-filed to this committee. These pre-filed measures help to indicate the topics that will come before Natural Resources this session. As far as the workload of the committee, you can see on page 3 over the last 5 legislative sessions, the number of measures referred to Assembly Natural Resources ranges from 31 to 55. Last session, 38 bills were referred. Of those, 34 were voted out of committee and 24 went to the governor's desk. If you're looking for any additional information on certain topics that could come before this committee, on page 4 of the brief is a list of relevant resources and publications. This includes the final brief from the Joint Interim Standing Committee on Natural Resources and its Subcommittee on Public Lands, as well as the Legislative Committee for the Review and Oversight of the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency and the Marlette Lake Water System. Additionally, on page 5, you'll find a list of acronyms for some of the agencies and entities that could appear before this committee and links to background information on certain topics. Finally, please know that the Research Division is available to assist committee members on a nonpartisan and confidential basis for any research-related request. That includes background research, information on legislation from other states, speeches, bill remarks, and more. If it is a request pertinent to the committee, please note that that would need to go through the chair. Chair Anderson, that concludes my presentation. I look forward to working with the committee, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for the information. Next, we will have 2 presentations for today. First up, we will have a joint presentation from the United States Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management. So I'd like to invite Brock Ulick of Nevada BLM, State Fire Management Officer, and John Stansfield of the Humboldt-Toyobe National Forest Supervisor to come to the table. As they are coming up to the table, I just wanted to add why we're starting with these federal agencies. I think we're all familiar in this room of how much of our state is actually part of or owned by the federal government. It's more than 80% of Nevada's lands. And in some of our more rural counties, that number goes all the way up to 90. So how these agencies coordinate with state and local entities truly impacts the lives of Nevadans. I also think it's so important for us to hear this based upon what has happened in the past few weeks. Our neighbors and many of our friends that live in California have been impacted by the fires, not just in the last few weeks, but also in the last 2 or 3 years. Anything we can learn to help our state fight and hopefully prevent these huge devastating fires is worthy of our attention. And of course, over the next few weeks, we will again hear from other divisions that deal with this issue. So again, I'd like to welcome Mr. Ulick and Mr. Stansfield to the dais. Thank you.
For the record, John Stansfield, Forest Supervisor on the Humboldt-Toyobe National Forest. Madam Chair, Assembly members, thank you for having myself and Mr. Ulick here today to talk about United States Forest Service and Nevada State BLM efforts around working and coordinating with state and local entities for the purposes of preventing and fighting wildfire, providing access to public lands, and our efforts to otherwise benefit Nevadans. In the interest of time today, I think we're going to speak more around what I think is a centerpiece of those efforts in the state of Nevada, a unique piece, and that's our shared stewardship agreement, an agreement that is unique in that it goes beyond just an agreement between just the Forest Service and the state, but here in Nevada we're different than a lot of the other western states in that here it includes Bureau of Land Management, Fish and Wildlife Service, Natural Resource Conservation Service, the Forest Service, and then state entities, Department of Wildlife, Department of Ag, Nevada Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. And so, I think that's really serves as a centerpiece of how we're working, federal and state, local, county. Gonna start off today. I think both Mr. Ulick and I are gonna do a quick brief around Nevada BLM and what that looks like across the state, and I'll speak to the Humboldt-Toyabe National Forest. And then again, in the interest of time, we're probably we're gonna speak to with that shared stewardship as the umbrella. We're gonna speak to the tenets of the nation's cohesive strategy around wildland fire, and we're gonna speak to safe and effective response, resilient landscapes, and fire adapted communities, and tie that back to our efforts with shared stewardship here in the state. With that being said, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Ulick.
All right, thank you. Brock Ulick, for the record, State Fire Management Officer for Bureau of Land Management, Nevada. And so the BLM Nevada is broken up in 6 districts across the state, listed on there, and then 1 state office. Within across the state, we have 53 fire engines, 7 dozers, 3 crews, and 3 air tanker bases that we utilize to suppress fires across the state. The main focus, there is working with our partners, and I'll cover that more when we get into the cohesive strategy and safe and effective response.
The record, John Stansfield, Forest Supervisor on the Humboldt-Toyabe National Forest. A little bit about the Humboldt-Toyabe, 6.3 million acres, most of it located in Nevada. We are unique in that we have almost 1 million acres that goes into California, both on the Carson Ranger District and down in Bridgeport. Interesting fact, it's the largest national forest in the lower 48, second largest in the nation, something that we're proud of. I really enjoy the fact that we spread from urban to rural, the entirety of the state, and so that's a benefit of being the Forest Soup on the HT. We have 6 ranger districts from across the entire state, and also the Spring Mountains National Recreation Area down outside of Vegas. The forest is ran out of Sparks, is where the Forest Supervisor's office is. And then, like I said, I have those district rangers spread out across the communities in the state to provide service to you folks and your constituents.
Brock Ulick, for the record. First tenet of the National Cohesive Strategy is safe and effective fire response. And that has been long built into our system, but it is the key of everything that we do. For wildland fire response, we go on a single point of ordering, which is our dispatch centers across the state. We have 5 federal centers, and they are get direction under an interagency fire management board. Call this the Nevada Fire Board. Has membership of all of our federal fire agencies, the state agency of NDF, Nevada Department of Forestry, and then the Nevada Chiefs Association also has a standing member on that to ensure that we have all perspectives and needs being addressed on there. This interagency fire board also is the controlling body for 5 type 3 incident management teams that we utilize across the state and the nation to manage fires. It is the premier type 3 incident management team organization in the nation, is being copied in other regions. So something that we are very, very proud of. Another step that we have done in recent years is working with Nevada Department of Forestry and the Wildland Fire Protection Program. We're able to streamline billing for all agencies and the counties and local partners to ease administrative burdens that come along with the necessities of paying for expensive fires or inexpensive fires even. Another tools that we have used is in looking at innovative approaches to staff resources. For the bulk of my career, the color of the truck that I am on drives what agency I work for. In recent years, we've identified that whoever can get the right person there is how we're going to do it. This is really highlighted with a partnership that the Forest Service and NDF has done in Ely, staffing a wildland fire module. Another very successful program, Rancher Liaison Program in the Elko area. This is the premier way of getting access to the local user, of sharing information with incident management teams that come in, and making sure that input and historical knowledge is making it to the firefighters on the ground. We are working to spread this around the state, but it also looks kind of different in different areas of the state, because there's different industries and different needs in different areas. And so each district, each county, we do look at things a little bit differently, but working with our liaisons, whether that's mines or other industry or just other partners, is a big focus for us. And I also want to mention in here the UNR fire camera program that we have set up under Alert Nevada. It's been a huge part of our fire response. This past year, going to that platform, our response, our detection times was I can't even put a number to how much faster it is. The AI picking up smoke and other fires, we are getting notified within minutes of a fire starting instead of hours sometimes. So a huge part. It's also open source, so it is available for every member of the public for their safety and knowledge of what's going on.
Record, John Stansfield. Just like to tack on to what Mr. Ulig said, and I think a real, indicative of the success we've had, shared stewardship across that fire response would look, most recently, though tragic because of the loss of private property, but the Davis fire was something that we're really proud of as far as coming together, federal, state, local, county entities, and had a successful outcome for the most part there. And so I think that's a real poster child of what that looks like on a fire response. I'd also like now to tier this into this idea of resilient landscapes, another tenet of the cohesive strategy. And so under that shared stewardship umbrella, what that looks like for us is, our shared stewardship signatories have identified 13 priority landscapes across the state, about 9 of which are activated right now, maybe a few more. And on each one of those landscapes, identified not only risks as a result of fire, but also opportunities for restoration efforts around there, whether it's wildlife habitat, hydrologic improvement, but a suite of things that can be done. And those priority landscapes were identified, using the most recent and best science. And what's unique about those is how we operationalize the shared stewardship agreement. Is each one of those landscapes is made up of an interagency, what we call a landscape group, that is representing federal, state, county, local entities, all coming to the table to take a look at that blob on the map, if you will, and develop that interagency 5-year plan of work. To address all those things, not just fire risk, but again, habitat improvement, you name it. And so, that's really been a venue of where, again, you can see us coming through fully integrated. I would like to say, it's been very successful. The first one was signed in 2019. As some of you are aware, we just re-upped and signed in 2024. We added the Natural Resource Conservation Service as another partner in there. And I was here I don't know if it was fall or in the summer, and some members of the shared stewardship testified before the Joint Interim Committee, and to let you know the success we are having. And I would like to think, and I would like to thank on behalf of the shared stewardship partners, is that our success came through in the governor's proposal for $6 million in the budget to support locally led collaborative conservation projects identified through the shared stewardship. So on behalf of the shared stewardship players, we appreciate that and look forward to see where that lands. Like I said, we re-signed that in 2024 down in southern Nevada, and it was a great ceremony. And so what we intend to do is continue to increase the amount of acres that we're treating. We intend to continue to stay focused on resilient landscapes and reducing wildland fire risk together, and continue to look for collaborative funding opportunities. And I think just as important is, because we put all this work in, because we focused where we're going and what we want to do, we're positioned well for whatever the next opportunity that comes down the pike is. And so that's a real credit to our state partners and the Fed partners.
Brock Ulick for the record. So our third tenet of the cohesive strategy is fire adapted communities. No matter how well we're able to coordinate a response, no matter how much we're able to treat the grounds and create resilient landscapes, there's still going to be unwanted fire that's going to impact communities. It's a sad reality. And so this tenet focuses on working with private landowners, homeowners, to create a more defensible area around their homes. This work is important to federal agencies, but as federal agencies, we're not always the most trusted source to go for, for every community member. And so it is very, very crucial that we utilize any way that we can to get the message to individual homeowners, landowners, of how to make homes more resistant, communities more resistant, and it helps all of us on so many different levels to the safety of the individual firefighter, the public, and beyond. This is biggest part of this is the Fire Adapted Nevada. Last year we held our first summit on that. There'll be another summit coming up this spring. This group is largely our same partners that are involved in the Nevada Fire Board, but and the shared stewardship agreement. It's kind of funny how that all works, but same players working together and engaging to the ground. This year, a big initiative that we have is through we'll be looking to hire someone to work on our. I lost my brain here, but okay. Community wildfire protection plans will be getting developed, and that is a key part. They are required for many of the grants that are out there, especially the ones through the Forest Service. And so we will be working on getting those CWPPs, community wildfire protection plans, updated for all counties so that we're able to complete all the work that we can and protect as many homes. Also in this last year, the BLM reached an agreement with the Nevada Fire Chiefs Association, and this will be a sub-grant program to get micro grants, small grants out to individuals, communities, so they can do that, take that first step or that last step to protect their home or their community.
For the record, John Stansfield, just to expand on what Mr. Ulick was talking about a little, and then provide some opportunity for questions. But I'd be remiss if I didn't. When I look at what the Assembly asked us to bring to the table today, of course, wildfires on the top of everyone's list. There are also benefits to Nevadans, and so I think something important there is as Madam Chair said, a large percentage of the state is federally owned, And, one of the things that these public lands do is they serve as a foundation for, a recreation economy across the whole state. And so we also, if you didn't know, we also have a shared stewardship agreement around recreation with the state and federal entities, almost all the same players. And, that's again, just like shared stewardship around, vegetation, wildfires, that, we can't do it alone. None of us can. And so we all have to work together. And so I would just point to that briefly as not only providing economic opportunity, but also, continuing to provide access to public lands for all Nevadans and for that matter, the public that we serve in Nevada and outside. Lastly, I'd want to bring to your attention, if you didn't already know, was for the Capitol Christmas tree that will sit on the west lawn of the Capitol this coming Christmas. Nevada has been selected for the first time ever to provide said Christmas tree. It's going to come off the Humboldt-Toyabe National Forest in Nevada. And it's the first time ever that it's come from the state. And I couldn't be more proud, to be here. The chances of being a forest soup on a forest when the tree is, coming off your forest is very slim. After 25 years of doing this, I feel really lucky, but also a really great sense of pride, not just for the agency, but for the state of Nevada. And so we already are well on our way to identifying governmental and non-governmental partners to make that a reality and let the nation know who we are and what we do over here. So looking forward to that, and any of you are, how you want to participate in that, it's wide open. So just something, a little silver lining to everything else that's going on out there. We'd be, Madam Chair, that's what we had. We'd be glad to answer questions.
First of all, congratulations. That's very exciting that's happening for the first time that we'll be having that celebration. Are there any questions? Appears Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. Having been evacuated on the Davis fire and the Callahan fire, it's wildland fire and the urban interface is acutely personal to me. And I've been involved over the past couple of decades with the BLM on their wildland urban interface fuel reduction program, which went really well until sage grouse started to drive how BLM managed their lands. But I wanted to ask on the forest, in the Carson Range, what specifically is the forest doing to manage fuels to limit the spread of wildfire?
For the record, John Stansfield, thank you for the question. So the Carson Range just so happens to be part of our Sierra Front landscape. So I didn't speak to it. I was sticking to the shared stewardships, but it's no coincidence that those priority landscapes that we identified under shared stewardship overlapped with wildfire crisis strategy landscapes. In the state here for the Forest Service, that means the Sierra Front, and it means what we were calling the Elko Front. And so efforts have been, we've always been doing a lot of work on that Carson Range, in and around the urban interface. And since we received those wildfire crisis funds, we increased the pace and scale at which we've been treating there. And we haven't done that alone. Again, that's been with state entities. That's been with Brock's resources. That's been, the money came through Forest Service Wildfire Crisis Strategy, but it's not a Forest Service centric endeavor. And we've been working with our partners to do a bunch of treatment in that area. And I think, when we look now as the dust settles on the Davis fire, we'll see where those treatments that work over the last decade or more has paid off and allowed us probably some opportunities to slow that fire's moving.
Thank you. Chair, a quick follow-up. What species of tree are you planning on shipping to DC?
For the record, John Stansfield, I believe that we're looking at some white or red firs. So you're going for that perfect conical, Christmas tree, and so we're looking right now Carson Range, obviously, and on the Spring Mountains has some really nice candidates. So those are the two areas. And how that works is we'll identify probably 10 specimens, that perfect Christmas tree, and then actually the Capitol's architect comes out and makes the selection. And so that'll happen probably sometime in June.
Not opinion.
No, I suggested, it's not going to be opinion.
Assemblymember Gurk.
But you're running AI on it?
Sorry, there you go. There you go.
No.
If they can hear you, go.
Well, you're close. Anyway, back to AI, Alert Fire. I love that site. It's a great site. And then you mentioned AI, you're running AI in it? Is that how you tell whether it's dust or smoke?
So, Brock Ulick for the record. So Alert Wildfire is the site that is hosted by UNR. We keep that as a contingency in case something happens to the new site that we're hosted through, which is it's Alert West. There's a sub-site called Alert Nevada in there. And through that entity, they apply an AI to it. They also have folks that review the anomalies that come up, and they ground truth it. So the AI is going to pick up numerous dust devils and other kind of things, but human views it, makes sure that it is, and then they alert our dispatch centers and anybody that in our system that wants to get a notification.
So somebody mans that site 24 hours a day?
Yes.
During the fire season?
24/7, 365. Now, while that site there's some of our cameras that might not last all year long, snow and other kind of factors, we'll put some down, but.
You, Vice Chair LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you so much for being here today and for the important work that you're doing in our communities. I think something that has been a topic of discussion in almost all of our committees is the uncertainty with federal funding and what's going on at the national level and how that trickles down to us. And I know you can't necessarily speak to everything that's going on in Washington, but are you seeing any challenges with what's going on with federal funding? Are there staffing or program cuts or anything that you're concerned about with those changes?
For the record, John Stansfield. I would just say, the way that, of course I can't speak to all of it, but the way that we chose to look at is the work around and what we've built with shared stewardship and what we've put on the shelf, that's ready to go, ready to be treated out there, is, we just keep focused on that and kind of wait for the opportunity. And when the dust settles, what we'll have is that partnership, which again positions us for whatever the opportunity we have is, limited or not. We're going to make as much hay as we can. So we're just continuing to prepare.
I actually, any other questions? Because I do actually have two questions. Oh, I'm so sorry. Assemblymember Hanson.
Chair, and thank you for being here. You got a big job. I had just two questions, if it's okay, Chair, mainly about two areas that you mentioned. Could you give me, or give all of us, maybe a definition of how the rancher liaison plays out? Tell us a little bit about what it actually looks like. And then I have a second one I wanted you to explain.
So the rancher liaison is a program set up in the
So
Elko.
sorry to interrupt you. Don't
Oh,
forget to say
Brock
your name.
Ulick for the
Thank
record.
you.
So the rancher liaison program is set up in the Elko district, the Elko County area primarily. And what it is identified a local liaison for the given valley or area. It's drawn out on a map, and then all of the liaisons in the district get together, have a preseason coordination meeting with the fire agencies there, get on the same page as far as terminology, as far as capabilities for that year and expectations. And then when when there's a fire in that area and our responders need to get different kinds of information, they're gonna call that liaison if they're having problems finding water, finding other resources. Are the roads good here? Then when it turns into a large fire, if it does, and an incident management team comes in, that liaison is going to be attending daily meetings, being a part of the team, developing the plan, so that, we're not missing out on that local input when we have to bring in extra people from the outside to get capacity to manage the fire.
Thank you. It's important. A lot of times, there's some vast areas and those ranchers have some key information sometimes that maybe people who are coming in to help might not, have that knowledge. So glad to hear of that local operation. And then the other one was, could you give us an update on maybe some of the prescriptive grazing that you're using to help with fuels? Maybe where in the state? I know in Carson, maybe for our new legislators, I don't know when the turnout period is, but there are sheep that will graze on Sea Mountain right here. So if you could explain to us some other grazing targeted areas.
John Stansfield, for the record. Thank you for the question. I can speak to Forest Service efforts. Of course, we have the sheep on Sea Mountain that have been reoccurring for quite a long time now to reduce those fine fuels. Other efforts we have is some work we've done with UNR, to set up some plots out in north central, Winnemucca District, Elko District, and doing some studies there with the UNR to look at the effectiveness of targeted grazing and changing up the seasons of which we get after stuff and see what those outcomes are. Most recently we recently signed the Santa Rosa Range Management Project out of our Winnemucca office. And that one there has kind of tiered off of those efforts, to figure out, to provide some flexibility around grazing to, for mutual benefit. And so that decision there allows some flexibility that we haven't otherwise ever, utilized on the forest here. And so we're looking forward to see, what the outcome is there, both, for producers' sake and, the options around reducing fine fuels.
I just have two. The first one actually came from, I think it'll be really quick to be able to figure this one out. It had to do with the National Cohesive Strategy Fire Adapted Community slide. And you spoke about the BLM Chiefs Agreement, so I just didn't know if the BLM was automatically supporting the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's just all for Saturday, and if so, I'd be very disappointed. But in actuality, I did have a question that had to do with the partnership with UNR. Just wondering if there's any sort of partnerships at this time with UNLV, or if the UNR partnership with the fire cameras also goes into the Clark County area.
Brock Ulick for the record. So, the BLM does not take an official stance on the Super Bowl. Let's take that first off. It is with the Nevada Fire Chiefs Association. Yes, and then our UNR agreement, so we actually have numerous different agreements with UNR. First off, Living with Fire is an agreement that many of our agencies have agreements set up with UNR. The fire cameras are hosted out of the seismology lab, and that's a partnership between BLM, Forest Service, also NV Energy plays a big part of that, and so it's a ideal public-private partnership. And then we've also have another community assistance agreement with UNR to help manage mental health and wellness for our firefighters through them. We don't have any agreements with UNLV currently.
I just know that there's sometimes a little bit of a rivalry between the two sister schools, so it'd be good to be able to possibly start to explore that. Well, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for this informative information. is incredibly important and incredibly timely. Greatly appreciate you giving us this time. Thank you. So next up, I am actually going to call Mr. Tibbetts up to the, up here. Mr. Tibbetts has said that he does not need to give his full presentation, but I know that he did spend some time driving here, and I would like to not only recognize that, but also allow him the opportunity to be able to speak, maybe not quite as long as what you had initially planned, about the information regarding this as well. Thank you, Mr. Tibbetts.
Chair Anderson, members of the committee. So the chair knows me too well. You give me an open mic and, you know, I could keep you here all night, but.
But I will cut you off.
Right. And I do understand the time. I did, note to the chair that I'd be willing to defer, come back some other time, but I just wanted to point the committee that I did provide a handout. My presentation today wasn't to focus on any specific issues or anything, but I think, you know, Eureka County, I feel, is a good microcosm of a lot of the rural issues in the state. Eureka County tends to be pretty active in these issues. Fortunately, I get paid to do that through my employment, to make sure that, you know, our natural resources are sustainably managed. And I think we have some ideas that we've worked through over a lot of years on trying to move on from conflict in a lot of these public land and natural resource issues to more, I've mentioned before, as a healthy tension. And we can disagree on a lot of the perspectives and the you know, a lot of the philosophy behind resource management, but there is common ground that can be met. And it's often just establishing a good process to do that and coming to the table with good, honest intentions. And that's kind of what we've left behind in the packet, is that we do feel there are some good things that we can have a lot of disagreement on some of the policy, but there's still a way to come to the middle ground in managing these resources that are good for the communities and the rural. And so I'll just leave that with you. I know you're short on time, and I just point the committee to that packet, and happy to provide any, you know, we want to be of assistance throughout the session on a lot of these issues, and anything we can do to help out, just let us know. So, thanks.
Thank you so much, and I realize that there was not the full presentation, but are there any questions for Mr. Tibbetts at this time? Assemblymember Hanson.
Chair, and thank you for being here, Mr. Tibbetts. Good to see you. Mainly just a comment to those that are new to the committee. A wealth of information right here at this table. So really utilize Mr. Tibbetts, because he has lived here in this area in Eureka, Nevada, has studied these issues, been a really good representative to understand in depth water, land issues, range issues, and that interface that we do as humans with it all. So I just wanted to give a shout out to, he didn't pay me to say this. I've just admired from afar how diligent and has studied these issues, having been, you know, range issues are important to all of us. My district represents a lot of rural areas, and we know water is our most scarce resource and very valuable. So just wanted to give him a shout out and sorry, hit the button too soon.
Thank you, Assemblymember Hanson. Any other questions? All right, so thank you again. You really have been a huge resource for us. And don't forget, you will be here a few more times. Thank you. So I think we're going to go back to what we would have started off with initially before the technology issues, and that was actually having the introduction of our members. Usually I would start with the Vice Chair, Assemblymember LaRue Hatch, but again, because of the 5 o'clock meeting, I will be starting with our most senior member, Assemblymember Watts. If you would please introduce yourself, the district you represent, how long you've been on this committee, as well as your interest and expertise as it relates to the committee.
Thank you, Chair. Making me feel old. My name is Howard Watts. I represent Assembly District 15, which is right in the middle of the Las Vegas Valley. I am serving in my 4th term in the legislature and have had the distinct pleasure of serving all 4 terms as a member of this committee, including a stint as chair during the 81st legislative session. Glad to be back here. Look forward to working with you all.
Thank you, Assemblymember Watts, and if you need to leave, I think we all totally understand. Next up, we'll go with Vice Chair LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Chair, and welcome back. I'm so excited to be back in this committee. I am Assemblymember Selena LaRue Hatch. I represent Assembly District 25, which is basically Western Reno, and this is my second session and also my second time serving on the best committee that I think is in the building. And my connection to this committee, I grew up on a ranch, so I have, an agricultural perspective and a little more knowledge of water than many, but definitely not as much as most of the people in the audience. And I also really enjoy the outdoors. We go camping every summer with my family, and then I'm a parent, and I'm just very concerned about climate change and resources and making sure that our kiddos have this beautiful state to inherit when we're gone. So I think those are my connections. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Next up, Assemblymember Hanson.
Chair, Assemblywoman Alexis Hanson. I represent District 32, which is, I live in Spark, so I have a large chunk of Washoe County all the way up to the border, all of Pershing County, all of Humboldt County, all of Lander, a little cap of Eureka County, and not where Jake is, and a western sliver of Elko County. So again, a very urban, rural interface. I love the district. The issues are so varied and interesting to me, and really the heart of a lot of what Nevada is about. So this is my fourth term. I've served on natural resources all 4 terms. I've served in the past in the interim natural resources and in public lands at a time, near and dear to my heart. So I love this committee very much and appreciate being able to serve again. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, let's go over to Assemblymember Considine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am Assembly Member Venetia Considine. I represent Assembly District 18, which is in the southeast portion of Las Vegas and a little bit of Henderson. This is my 3rd term as the Assembly member, 2nd term on natural resources, and I really enjoyed my term last year on natural resources and felt so educated by being here, and I look forward to a repeat of that. So thank you.
And next up, Assemblymember Marzola.
Thank you, Chair. Elaine Marzola, representing Assembly District 21. This is my 3rd session. First time in natural resources. Definitely not in my wheelhouse, but I'm super excited to become an expert, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Chair.
Well, welcome. We're excited you're here. Next up would be Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm Assemblyman Rich DeLong. I represent District 26, which is South Reno and Southwest Washoe County, which is, I classify it as a suburban district. However, my career, I'm a geologist. I've worked in the mining industry for over 40 years, primarily in Nevada, permitting mines, dealing with water issues, land use issues in all the rural counties, as well as Washoe County and Clark County. Look forward to another session on natural resources.
You're excited you're back. Next up would be Assemblymember Gurr.
Up to the mic this time. I'm Assemblyman Bert Gurr. I represent District 33. I can give you all the travel log about how big that is, but let me suffice it with just simply, some of you can say this better than I can now because you've heard it so many times, but it encompasses 2/3 of Elko County, most of Eureka, all of White Pine, all of Lincoln, and about 3/4 of Nye County. From the Idaho border to the California border, it's 512 miles according to Google Earth in a straight line. From Tonopah to the Utah border is the other part of it. I have 50,255 square miles in that district. I have 1.49 people per square mile in the district. So it's kind of large, and it's almost all rural except for Elko, where I live in Spring Creek, and my best committee, I love this committee. I love the other 2 I'm on too, but natural resources, I served as a teenager, early adult. I fought for rangeland fire, so I know a little bit about that. Not much, and not nearly as complicated as it is today. And then I served as a wildlife guide or a deer hunting guide. I've been a real estate broker all my life, sold a lot of land, a lot of ranches, dealt with water issues with people. I feel like this is a good place for me to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblymember Karas.
Good afternoon, everyone. Assemblymember Venice Karas. This is my first session, and this is my third committee now. I'm getting used to everything. I'm really excited to be on natural resources, and in the efforts of trying to have everyone see the governor. That's going to be it for me.
Thank you. And finally, Assemblymember Jackson.
Hey, hello. I represent Assembly District 6, that is West Side and Northtown Vegas. Don't know too much about natural resources, but I'm looking forward to learning. I also have served as a wildlife firefighter, but I have been an advocate for social justice for years, and I'm realizing that, you know, environmental justice and social justice goes hand to hand. So I look forward to serving on this committee.
So much. And finally, I'm Chair Natha Anderson. It's my honor to serve on this committee again. This is my third session. I represent Assembly District 30. I call it the heart of the Truckee Meadows. It's mostly Sparks and just a little bit of Reno. I am so honored to be chair of Natural Resources. It's my third time serving on it. When I was a freshman, Assemblymember Watts was the chair. And so I've learned a lot from him. Very quickly, I adore our state. This last summer in August, I had a chance to visit every single county over a week with a group of other 4 or 5 people where we got a chance to talk with different people about different issues. And without making too much of a large picture about it, that those cotton candy clouds that we see in almost every single county, the beautiful sunsets and sunrises and those mountains, they just remind us what a beautiful state this is. And so I think that's one reason why I'm so honored to be able to chair this. It's so easy for us just to think about the water issue, because that might be a little bit of an issue here, but we also have to protect that land and just make sure that our children have an opportunity to be able to celebrate it as well. I'd like to introduce our staff, and although they hate to be the ones to speak about themselves, so I will do it for them. First, as you've already heard from Becky Parrott, she's our committee policy analysis. Ms. Parrott has been with the LCB since 2022, and prior to joining the LCB, she was an area director and regional operations director for a bipartisan policy organization, and she served as a corporate securities agent for the Nevada Gaming Control Board. She holds a bachelor's degree from the University of San Francisco, a master's degree from Loyola Marymount, and a law degree from Yeshiva University. Jeff Coinster, who is actually in Vegas, so that's one reason why we have to make sure the Vegas feed is still there, is our committee counsel. He's based in Las Vegas, and so it's kind of a different way of doing this. He recently joined the LCB and is staffing his first session. He was born and raised in Las Vegas and graduated from the William S. Boyd School of Law in 2019. I believe there's a few others on this committee that graduated from there. And prior to joining the LCB, he spent several years in private litigation practice. Cindy Glass is the committee manager for both Assembly Natural Resources as well as Growth and Infrastructure, and a little editorial. She's got her work cut out for her. Ms. Glass has been retired for the last year and a half after 30 years of state service as a project manager with the Department of Health and Human Services, the Division of Healthcare Finance and Policy. In retirement, she loves spending time with her 2 granddaughters. This is her first session, and she is excited to participate in the process. Karen Cook is the committee secretary. Ms. Cook was born and raised in Canada and moved to the United States when she was 26. She worked in the mortgage industry for 25 years and retired just 2 years ago. She's raised 3 children in Carson City, but moved away from Nevada and missed it terribly, so she moved back in 2018, and we are happy to be back, that you're back home. Cheryl Williams is the committee assistant. She's a double native Nevadan. She was born and raised in Nevada and is a proud member of the Pyramid Lake Paiute tribe. She enjoys assisting the Assembly Committee on Natural Resources and has served as a committee assistant for 10 sessions. She loves horses and rodeo, and although she did not write this in her bio, her granddaughter as well. Finally, there's a very quick thank you that I think all of us really need to make sure to make clear for our attachés, as well as the legislative police, both in Carson as well as in Vegas, the custodian staff, so many other people that we just could not do this work without. I know that the research division also does a large amount of work for us, so I just wanted to put forward on those thank yous. All right, any questions? I do believe the last thing we have at this time is public comment. Is there anybody that would like to come to the table to offer public comment? Okay, seeing nobody coming from Carson, I think that's Elko. I believe we've missed Las Vegas, but is there anybody in Vegas or in Elko? Seeing none. Is there anybody on the phones?
Chair, the public line is open and working, but there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much, and that's also a group that I forgot to thank. Thank you, our audio, visual, and hearing unit staff. You guys are amazing, even when technology doesn't work with you. All right, so hearing nobody for public comment, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.